The year is 1923. In the heart of Europe, a democracy lay crippled, burdened by an impossible promise. This was the Weimar Republic, still breathing in the shadow of the Great War. The enemy was not a foreign army, but an invisible predator unleashed from the national printing press. This is the story of how money, the ultimate symbol of trust, became an engine of social extinction. The market's edge, Weimar Inferno, how hyperinflation burnt a nation's wealth to ash. The seeds of the Weimar Inferno were sown in the Treaty of Versailles. Germany was saddled with war reparations so vast they were almost impossible to pay. The government faced a brutal choice: impose crushing taxes or print the currency they needed. They chose the path of least political resistance, beginning the slow, deliberate destruction of the Reichsmark. At first, the effects were subtle. By 1921, the cost of a loaf of bread, once a mere fraction of a mark, had doubled. But in the elite banking halls of Berlin, there was a misplaced sense of control. Officials believed that printing money could fuel exports, making German goods cheap on the global stage. They treated the nation's currency like a tool, a variable to be adjusted. They did not understand they were playing with fire. The pivotal moment arrived in January 1923, when French and Belgian troops occupied the Ruhr region. This industrial heartland was the nation's economic engine. To resist, the Weimar government paid striking workers by simply printing more cash. The delicate dam holding back inflation had finally broken. The financial system was no longer moving at a jog. It was accelerating into a panic sprint. Prices now doubled, not in a year, but sometimes within a single day. The printing presses became the central feverish machine of the Republic. They ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, unable to keep up with the demand for zeros. The paper money was stamped with increasingly absurd denominations. From thousands, the bills soared to millions, then billions, and finally trillions of marks. This was the moment a currency lost all meaning. The Reichsmark had become a visual metaphor for the death of trust. The citizens were trapped in a horrifying economic nightmare. People carried their wages in suitcases, wheelbarrows, and laundry baskets. Salaries were paid multiple times a day so workers could rush out and spend the money before its value evaporated. A cup of coffee cost 5,000 marks in the morning and 12,000 by noon. The hyperspeed of commerce turned every transaction into a frantic gamble. Many gave up on paper currency altogether. Bartering returned, a desperate survival strategy from a forgotten age. Eggs, coal, and butter were the new gold standard. The greatest tragedy was reserved for the German middle class. Those who had worked their lives to save for the future watched their pensions disintegrate. A lifetime of prudent saving could not buy a single match. Their sense of moral order was shattered. The psychological toll was immense. Families were forced to choose between feeding their children and buying firewood for heat. The paper money was more valuable as kindling than as currency. Children played games building towers with stacks of worthless 100 billion mark notes. The largest banknote issued by the Reichsbank was the 100 trillion mark note. The desperation forced a radical intervention in November 1923, the introduction of the Rentenmark. Its value was pegged to the land used for agriculture and business in Germany, a symbolic gamble that restored psychological trust. The exchange rate was set at 1 Rentenmark for 1 trillion old Reichsmarks. The printing nightmare stopped, but the scars remained deep. Hyperinflation annihilated the financial foundation of the middle class, turning conservatives into radicals and fueling deep resentment against the Weimar government. The catastrophe proved savings were meaningless, sowing the seeds of political extremism. The Weimar Inferno illustrates a core economic truth. Money is not metal or paper. It is a collective agreement, a shared illusion of value. When that belief collapses, the structure of society follows. For more historical content, click the subscribe button now.